Hi there, I'm Leigh Sturm with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices RW Towne Realty, and I'm here with Ron Stowe from RW Towne Mortgage. How you doing today?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm good. Thank you. I see you got your hair cut.
I did my hair just for this.
Oh, perfect. I completely forgot to shave. So
you look wonderful.
Okay. So we are here today to talk to you about we're going to discuss a couple of things, but the primary focus here is about what is the true cost of waiting for both home buyers and home sellers. So if you're thinking about buying a home and you just don't know, where to start or whatnot, this information is going to be very good for you. If you're thinking about selling your home or you're a little nervous about that, we've got some great information for you at the end of this and how all this applies. Absolutely. So let's get started.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So as we see the news and people out there talking about should we wait, should we buy, especially the buyers, first-time home buyers, people looking to move up or what I call right size, they're thinking interest rates and house values are preventative of them buying a house right now.
Right. It's just too competitive and they think, why even try?
Why even try if we're too competitive, or the interest rate might be too high and it'll come down. So a few things. Number one, we don't know when the interest rates are going to do, when they're going to improve. We do believe they will improve, but when they'll improve, a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows? But the cost of waiting is the true thing we have to factor in.
See, that's an interesting concept, because trying to figure all that out when you're like, okay, what numbers or variables do you use? But Ron's got this for us. So how about we figure that out? So let's get started with pricing and interest rates and what that means to everybody.
So we don't want to bore you with a bunch of numbers and stuff, and people are buying at different prices, lower prices, higher prices. So what we're saying is, let's say you a $300,000 home. What I'm saying is a person that is able to buy, a first-time home buyer, which has unique advantages that we like to talk about as well. Consider buying now if you're ready, regardless of the interest rate environment.
Right, and if we can explore that just a second, like, are you ready to buy? What factors make you ready to buy? Well, certain things that might help you out is to think if your credit's good, if you've been taking care of your payments are on time and everything, if your credit's good, if your income is stable, and if you've got some money in the bank, or you've been trying to work on creating that nest egg. These are all great factors to help you decide that now is better than never, or waiting too long, right?
Absolutely. And just a caveat there, credit being good, we love great credit. However, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Doesn't have to be perfect. Right.
So get pre-qualified right away, and we can figure out whether you're in position to buy or not. But assuming all those things are in order, if you're in position to buy, now is a good time to go ahead and buy, because what's happening is house prices are increasing. So if we wait a year or 2 years thinking the interest rates will come down, what's going to happen with this house price?
Oh, they're going up.
They're going up.
And people are like, what does that even mean? Well, new construction starts are really difficult. There's a lot of challenges for people, for builders getting permits, trying to find land to build on. Resources are expensive, the lumber, all the things that it takes to build, manpower, and cost of labor. All of those things are so expensive right now that even though new construction has typically always been something that helps us with an inventory issue, it's a real struggle right now. So this inventory problem isn't really going to go away anytime soon. So we're seeing some leveraging out, but we're still seeing home prices increase. Case in point, over the past year, home prices have increased about like 5%.
5%.
And I think they're projecting around the same, right?
5%.
So that's a huge thing. So based on that.
So if we talk that $300,000 house, 5% from now, next year, this house can be worth anywhere about $315,000. So let's say interest rates are a little bit lower next year. Well, if you're having to pay $15,000 more for the house, even though you have a slightly lower interest rate, the payments are likely going to end up in the same place with our payment. Not only that, you've missed out on $15,000 worth of equity appreciation and probably $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 worth of pay down on principal in the mortgage. So $20,000 that you're not going to get back, and not only that, you're paying rent of what, $2,000, $2,100?
For the same size property, yeah, about $2,000 to $2,200 a month, and that money doesn't go to you other than you living in the house. That money's going to somebody else's mortgage payment. So it's not really an investment in yourself at that point. You're just continuously getting by.
Yes.
So that's where that differential comes into play, and that's if you were to consider doing that now. If we were to consider doing that in the future, those numbers are continuously getting further and further away from us.
They compound and such. So I won't say now. Won't say it's never now or never, because it's always a consideration to do when you're ready to buy. But don't let the news or the naysayers in the media tell you that you shouldn't buy a house for net right now because you're waiting for a 5% interest rate.
Right.
Who knows when that's going to come?
Right. I think we've been falsely secure on these low rates for a very, very long time.
Right.
So it makes sense that people are like, well, that's what's normal, because that's what they may have only seen in the last 10 years or so. But when we're talking...
Do you know what truthfully the typical interest rate has been over last 30, 40, 50 years?
I want to say between 6 and 7%.
You're right. You are correct.
Okay.
You are correct. Now the homes were a lot
Priceless.
less expensive.
Yeah.
So
but
don't want to just throw that out
right,
there either.
Right. Well, and the people say, oh, the interest rates back in the 80s were 14% or whatever. True, but the home prices were like 40, 50 grand.
Yeah.
Totally different story. However, if we're talking about the reality now, if home prices are projected to continuously raise, and we're not talking about the double digits we've seen over 2021 and 22, we're talking about it's single digit increases, but nonetheless, it's still an increase. I mean, just case in point, if they're projecting that the prices are going to be going up roughly around 5% over the next year, there you go. You're already seeing that there's going to be a difference in the same house from this point now to next year. Exactly. So
now's the time. The other thing is going back to the rental situation. Rents, we think rents will stabilize out going to the future and such, which is a good thing for those that aren't able to buy. But the problem is we need to have something for the future. So those sellers, we're going to talk about sellers later on, but this first house, what are the chances of this first house being the ooh la la house you'll never move again?
Right, very low, very slim. It's very, very low chance of that happening. It happens, but it's a very small portion of homeowners out there. So
3 to 5 years down the line, you'll be able to sell this house probably without, with not only breaking even, but walking away with something, or being able to accelerate those funds, those equities into the purchase of the house that has the garage that you want.
Right, that's more conducive to your lifestyle at that particular point in time.
The land, the family, number of family members and stuff like that.
Right. And if you take the same individual on the separate path of going the rental route, at the end of 5 years, what are you left with after all those housing payments you made, all those rental payments you made?
Well, it's you've got nothing left.
Yeah. Whatever you were able to save, right? And it's not going to compare. It's going to pale in comparison, for the most part. It's going to pale in comparison to somebody who was able to purchase a home that 5 years ago. Kind of thing.
What makes life is life. But I really enjoy what I do. What hurts me the most is if I'm talking to somebody and I ask them how long have they been living where they're at, and they tell me 17 years, 20 years. And guess what? They probably have a decent housing or rental expense, but now they're looking to buy, and it's just such a shock for them. And during this 15 or 20 years, had they been paying into their own home, they have really a lot to show for it.
Especially after 17 to 20 years. I mean, you can really ride out the ups and downs of a market over that amount of time, and they could have had a lot of equity built up at that particular point in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So now let's talk about home sellers. How does all this apply to home sellers?
Home sellers.
Because it sounds like it's all about home buyers, but it's not.
Well, and that's true. So home sellers right now are enjoying the ability to price their home maximize their net equities and such,
Mm-hmm.
and that is great. But if they're going to, more than likely, they're going to have to live just like a buyer. A first-time buyer has to have a place to live, so does a seller. So what we're seeing is some of these sellers that have been out there and they've been buying these homes, they're able to, in some cases, pay almost cash for the next house that they buy.
There's the benefit for some people. They've been able to buy houses with
at
cash.
the right time. And
Right. So what about the sellers who are thrilled to pieces that they have a really, really low interest rate because they've been able to, enjoy that with a refinance or home purchase or whatever over the past however many years.
a water cooler 2% interest rate.
Yeah. But now, now they're like, this is great, but lifestyle change. We need a smaller house. We need a bigger house. We need a house with more bedrooms. We want a house with less bedrooms. Whatever the situation is, or we're being relocated or transferred for work or military, whatever. There's always those caveats that are kind of out of everybody's control. And when that's the case, they're going to be looking at, they're not going to have that 2.5-3% interest rate anymore,
Which means
right? A much
very
lower
low payment.
payment. They're going to be kind of sticker shocked when they see where the prices are with homes, plus what the interest rate is going to cause for their housing payments. So let's discuss what are some ways that home sellers can kind of alleviate that pain that they may be feeling because they're so focused on the housing costs. But what are some ways that people can work around that?
I'm actually helping a couple right now, and what they're doing is they are selling their home, they're buying a new home, but in the midst of them buying the new home, the equity that they have in their current home, they're not going to just roll it into the new home. They've got consumer obligations, car payments, credit cards, student loans, motorcycle payments. You got payments that could be as high as $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take that low interest rate, and that's what people don't realize, what people have done is they've taken that low interest rate in that house, and that's given them a lot of breathing room, but they've gone out and bought consumer items with it. And those consumer payments, you take that low $2,000 payment, and you got $3,000 worth of consumer items, it's really, you got $5,000 worth of bills. So let's take some of that equity, pay off these consumer items, and now let's say the payment's not $2,000 a month, but the new payment's $3,200 or $3,200, but that's still half of what they were totally paying before. So they're really walking and getting the new house that they want without the overhead of those consumer items.
So that's a really interesting point for home sellers, is not to just get that tunnel vision concern
That's
about
a good way to put it.
an interest rate and what that's going to cause for your mortgage payment all in of itself. If you haven't opened up your recent credit card statement lately, those interest rates have gone up too.
Yes.
And you're just like, wow, And so prices of goods have gone up and all that kind of stuff. But if you can kind of harness how you want to handle those consumer debts.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of leverage. See, that's why you want to talk to someone like Ron, because he's going to help you kind of he's going to bring all that to light and help you kind of make the best decision you can with those. So if you're able to free up some of that money that they're using for consumer debt, and now all of a sudden that painful mortgage payment with their interest rates the way they are now feels a little bit more palatable. Okay. And then it's also too in a fixed position. If you're going for a fixed rate mortgage, exactly. It's in a fixed position, and so you can then kind of set it and know where your payments are going to be. So there's several options in that.
Absolutely,
way.
and then take it to another level. You've got the home that you want. We've potentially gotten rid of consumer obligations, and we've also made room to now invest for the future. Make sure you're doing your IRAs, your life insurance, the other things that
are part
to be doing.
Right, all of those other things that round out a smart financial picture. Right. So these are all very, very good things. So I want to thank. Do we have any other things to talk about?
I think other than the weather, no.
So this was very, very helpful, very insightful. So if you have any questions in terms of the housing market component of things, you can absolutely contact me. If you have any inquiries about mortgage rates or payments or anything about, like we talked about, how to leverage out your payments or what buying a home right now, selling your home and buying a home, whichever, and how that's going to affect your finances, Ron's going to be the guy to chat with. So, and you can contact both of us. I'll put all of our contact information below.
Well, contact Leigh first, and then she'll hopefully put us in contact, and obviously, you got a wonderful resource. She can help you get that house sold or find the right house for you. We just need to have the faith and jump right on in.
Right. And it's never, the thing that you mentioned to me earlier, it is never too early to start planning. So even
Yes.
if you don't feel like you're in the right position now,
Credit-wise, income-wise,
Right.
asset-wise, let's start
it's
planning.
okay to have that conversation now so we can start getting that plan together
Mhm.
for 6 months, 12 months down the road.
Perfect.
Because even if you end up needing to buy in a year from now, that's still going to be better than buying in 5 years from now.
5 years or 10 years from now.
Right. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.